I want these. Pot of duality. Oh no. Oh no, it's runic again. A matchup I genuinely can't win. No Ash Blossom, please. Well, they're also using a burn deck technically. Technically, this is kinda dangerous, but do they have fucking Solemns? Alright. Mirror Force? I am behind in cards. What I wouldn't give to have anti-spell fragrance. Let's just go ahead and activate Skill Drain. Let him know that their monster effects are fucked. Okay, that's actually fantastic. I baited Skill Drain from being removed instead of bad reaction to Simochi. For whatever that's worth. Well, with Skill Drain gone, Sandayon isn't really all that useful. No attacks. Why does it always have to be this? I need more gift cards. I lost one gift, but I still have two. And two is all I need. Fuck. I don't have any synchros. Is this actually the exact same guy or something? Yeah, go ahead. That card was doing a boatload of nothing other than taking space. You were gonna take no damage from that either way. I need back row removal. I should have drawn two cards with Ichio. I thought I had something I could summon. I forgot I banished a whole bunch. Yeah, fuck. What a misplay. There's the other gift card. It's actually kinda just Jover now. Yo, anti-spell fragrance was at the fucking bottom. Alright. I do have side deck options. Let's go first. Wow, that kinda sucks. Wait, no, putting that down is actually a genuinely terrible idea. Boom, bitch. I top decked it. Ah, Fuck. This matchup sucks. This one is the obviously better fucking stun deck. Would it actually have been better to go second in a matchup like this? I really don't think so. Of course they have Synchro Zone. And of course I can't deal with it because I fucking have Dark Nurse Reficule. I should put down a Harpy's Feather Duster on the side deck for next time. These all kinda suck. I swear this is actually the exact same guy. Go ahead. I kinda need Dark Lord Nurse Reficule to fucking fuck off. I'm not winning this. I didn't mean to oh my fucking god, I'm an idiot. Whatever, let's just surrender. Should it be in the side deck or the main deck? I honestly don't know. I'll main deck it. If I run into that guy again, I'm gonna fucking switch to Megalith. Should I run a few more protection? I think this is good.
Azul GG, welcome to the channel. We had to finish the trifecta. We've had Hearthstone, we've had MTG, and now we have to have the master of Pokemon. How you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
I think a lot of the Pokemon fans are probably excited to hear your opinions on some Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Why don't you introduce yourself a little bit for the people who may not know who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Azul GG. I create content, and I'm also a competitor still as well. Been since 2009, 2010 time, so quite a while that I've been playing the Pokemon TCG. Racked up a decent amount of accomplishments. I won 2 majors last season. Probably gonna take a little bit of a step back from competing, going to this next season, focus a little bit more on content. But
might be a misplay, but I'm gonna hold off
humble
as much information as I can,
I think you're underselling yourself.
and only set down my face downs.
Excited to see what a Pokemon player thinks about the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. I know I am, because to be fair,
Holy shit, this guy's doing the exact same thing.
Understand the fundamental basics of playing a little Go format. I know very little about Pokemon TCG. I've actually had a few people who know something about the game help me provide this list of cards to you, just because they thought it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts. So I'm excited to get into it, and we're going to take it easy on you for the first one here. I'm going to show you a card that you should be familiar with, because it is in fact in Go format.
Okay, yeah, I've definitely seen this one before. So charity, draw 2 cards from your deck, then discard any 2 cards from your hand.
So what I want you to evaluate is a few things here. How we're going to rate you today is I want you to talk about this in the context of Pokemon, obviously, because I think that's what a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Side the audience is interested to hear. And then I want you to tell us if you think this card is good or bad, and then after that, if you think this card was ever banned at any point throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history.
Okay, so as far as
as long as the attack is 4,000 or less,
Pokemon,
this can be nothing but an upside.
I guess like you can compare it to like spell cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Magic. And we have 2 different types though, like different speeds in those games. There's supporters, which you can play once per turn, and then there's item cards, which you can play as many as you want.
Interesting.
So, if this was a supporter card, it would be terrible. If this was an item card, it would be good in aggressive decks. I think this would probably be like the best aggressive item card we've ever seen. The couple that would be like similar to this that we've seen in the past, there was a card called Acrobike. You look at the top 2, discard 1, take 1.
Okay.
Right, current format, we have Trekking Shoes, which is look at the top card.
Did this guy lose connection or something? Summon your Supreme King, please. Oh.
Shoes, which is look at the top card. You may discard it or take it. If you discard it, you draw the next card. So this would be probably the most powerful version of those 2 cards ever. This card would actually maybe just be maybe this card would just be a 4 of an everything, to be honest. It was in Pokemon as an item card. In Yu-Gi-Oh! Terms, and my knowledge of Yu-Gi-Oh! And how good draw power is, just seeing more cards, even if it is like this is like effectively a +1 to your hand, but you get to choose any 2 cards to discard. They're from the new cards or the old cards, so that gives you like a decent amount of control over what you see. So in something like Pokemon, this isn't like super high value, but honestly, if this was in Pokemon as an item card, it would maybe be a 4. Yu-Gi-Oh! Though, this does seem extremely strong, so I definitely think this is a pretty good card.
Okay. Now, do you think it was banned at any point?
I'm gonna go ahead and say yes, because it does seem just kind of ridiculous. What is the spell? You could just play if you have this in your hand. You could just play it, right? There's no restriction to this. Yeah, I would say, and you can play 3 of these theoretically, right?
Theoretically, yes.
Yeah, so I would say this probably got banned at some point. This.
Correct. You're correct. I started you off easy. Graceful Charity. It's interesting because from my little understanding of Pokemon, I know you guys have some like ridiculous draw power. I've seen a couple of cards before that, like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Standards, would actually just break my brain. So I was curious what a card like Graceful Charity would be like in Pokemon, because you know, you can't like draw 7 or anything like that in Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a few cards that maybe let you do that, but none of them are. There's so many restrictions that they've never actually resolved. So it's interesting to hear that even a card like as powerful as it is for us Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, that in Pokemon, under the right context, this card would actually be incredibly strong there, even though you guys have even better draw cards as well. So, correct. You are on the board. Really cool to hear your insight. I'm excited to see how some of the rest of these go. All right. So next up, we're going to show you something that is something you might not be used to in Pokemon, from my understanding. So why don't you go ahead and give this card a read?
All right, Effect Veiler. During your opponent's main phase, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard to select one of your face-up effect monsters your opponent controls. Negate the effects of that monster.
It's unbanned, and he's our boy.
During your opponent's main phase, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. One face-up effect monster your opponent controls. Negate the effects of that monster. it's kind of like a counter spell for effects on the monster instead of like a
Effectively, but the monster does stay on.
Going first, going second. This deck does well either way.
Pokemon is you play out your turn.
Oh my god, this guy's playing Snake Eyes.
The player's turn, correct?
How does it feel pre-nerf? How does it feel post-nerf?
2011.
Probably not that different.
One of a certain type in
Oh
play.
god, and it's running Fiends. Is it trying to do FTK or something? I'm pretty sure that isn't possible anymore.
It's a power a Pokemon can use either one.
Hasn't been for a very long time.
Usually, and you can prevent it with that card.
How good was that card?
It was pretty good. It was like some of the best decks. The Pokemon you had to have in play was Pokemon. If you had 3 SP Pokemon in play, you could play it from your hand during your turn. And some of the SP decks were some of the most powerful decks in the format. So the card was pretty good. And it actually, so it's basically, it's almost Power Spray. It was called Power Spray. Power Spray is literally discard, it feels like.
This doesn't have any restrictions.
No restrictions. The restriction wasn't really hard to meet that restriction. It was mostly to like tone it down for the first turn of the game. So it was unlikely you'd be able to play it on the first turn of the game. At turn 1, you'd be able to play pretty consistently. This you can just kind of play whenever. The thing I'm not sure about is just like how powerful are effects on monsters.
So you think by Pokemon standards?
Yeah, by Pokemon standards, this would be really good. This would be very, very good by Pokemon standards, for sure. In Yu-Gi-Oh!, this feels less powerful overall. I'm gonna go ahead and say that I don't think this card is great.
And so, if you don't think it's great, do you think it was ever banned? I'm assuming no.
I guess there could be a card that wasn't that great, but the perfect, everything perfectly lined up. Yeah, man, I'm going to say this card was never banned.
You're 1 for 1. Think of this one. Effect Veiler is actually an incredibly strong card. As Yu-Gi-Oh! Has progressed, monster effects have essentially become the most powerful aspect of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Brand. Coming from, with your background with GOAT and everything like that, I can see why you might think that, the spell cards have, some of the most powerful effects, especially when you look at something like Graceful Charity by comparison, right? Yeah. But Effect Veiler is strong. This card was actually released, I want to say, 2011, around that era, so it's about midway through Yu-Gi-Oh!'s lifespan at this point. And even on release, Effect Veiler was still an incredibly powerful card, and still is today, for numerous reasons. So being able to negate effects in any capacity is really strong, because a lot of the best effects in the game as it's gotten older are harbored in the monster effects, and basically being able to cut your opponent off is really good. Also, with Effect Veiler, it doesn't say that you can only use 1 copy of Effect Veiler per turn. So hypothetically, if your opponent has a play, you use an Effect Veiler to stop that play. If they have a follow-up play, if you hypothetically...
Promethean Princess?
You can stop
with DDD Wave? No, wait, Snake Eye. Snake Eye effect.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Has started to slap a lot of once per turn effects on types of cards that might be similar. And so, Effect Veiler on wasn't subject to that once per turn restriction, and so there are other versions of Effect Veiler that are in Yu-Gi-Oh!
Snake's the Abelsta.
Effect Veiler as a result. And so, this card actually, even to this very day, still sees modern play.
Here she comes.
So it was banned. It's banned in standard. Is modern different? What is modern? How does modern differ from standard?
So in Yu-Gi-Oh, we have 1 format. It's an eternal format. You can play cards all the way from the very beginning in 2002, assuming they're not banned anymore. Effect Veiler was never banned.
Right.
Yeah, Effect Veiler was never banned, and is actually still at 3 copies. It was never. I don't think it ever touched the limited list at all. I believe it's just a very well-designed card.
It's very healthy for the metagame to exist.
It may not necessarily matter for the purposes of our video, but the fact that it's a tuner means you can access synchro monsters. Being a white attribute is very relevant as well.
Yeah, hand traps are always tuners for some reason.
Well-rounded card.
Oh, at least the hand trap that came around when synchros became a thing. Earlier hand traps like Karibo and stuff like that aren't tuners.
Pokemon, we do have 2 formats.
And BD Crow.
Basically doesn't get played anymore. They play it a little bit over in Japan still. Out of control, and it's not well maintained in terms of the ban lists. And we don't have restrictions in Pokemon. They never say you can only play.
Sure. But you also have rotation though, so that's
So our standard format is very.
Technically, Yu-Gi-Oh! Does have formats. We have the advanced format, which is our eternal format, and then we have traditional format, which is the same format, but any card that's banned is actually played. But no one plays. I don't know why they just haven't just erased that from existence, because it has literally been played since like 2003, I want to say. So, but they still call it that, so whatever. Anyway, next card. Let's see if we can get you back on the board.
Swords of Revealing Light. Flip a monster your opponent controls face up. This card remains on the battlefield on the field for 3 of your opponent's turns. While this card remains on the field, monsters your opponent controls not declare an attack. Definitely is going to slow them down quite a bit.
And combat's very important in Pokemon, because, I mean, Pokemon, I imagine.
Flip all monsters your opponent controls face up. That's another thing I actually don't understand too deeply about Magic. Process of different kinds of summoning is something I'm missing. Oh, I said Magic in Yu-Gi-Oh! It's something I'm missing in something synchro summons and all that kind of stuff. I don't quite fully understand that stuff. Another thing I don't have a great grasp on in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is cards. Like,
shit, I forgot about Divine Temple.
Context if the audience hasn't just calling her name Magic. But so the first part of the effect this video is probably irrelevant. It's more so the attack stopping capabilities. But Yu-Gi-Oh! You're allowed to once per turn as a normal summon either set a monster in face down position or normal a monster.
I can Super Star Slayer for whatever that's worth.
Some monsters have what are called flip effects. Either from being attacked, or if you choose to manually flip those cards up, it will do something. And those effects, because of the unknown information, not knowing what that stat is, saying it can be applied to
perfectly reasonable.
Your opponent might play differently, trying to play around certain cards. If in the format there are certain cards that are very well known.
I do believe I am dead.
You can't just set any.
But
it has to be a card.
I wanna summon Mahama. Or actually, I probably should just scoop.
Correct. So unless like the card says special summon the monster in face down position, which very few cards do, special summonings do not happen in face down defense position. So you'd have to normal set the monster as your normal summon form.
On the field for 3 of your opponent's turns. Start to make a field. Monsters your opponent controls cannot. I mean, that just seems pretty good. Like, this seems like a good card. I don't know. The thing that I guess I have a little bit of a hang up on with this one is like, because in Yu-Gi-Oh, when you attack, you have to go through the monsters first, correctly?
Correct.
I need Kaiju.
Yes, that.
How this be Pokemon?
How this be Pokemon? I'd be really good at Pokemon. You would be able to just. There's no defense, so you can't take damage back on your opponent's Pokemon. Yeah, but in Yu-Gi-Oh,
Let him do the combo.
One of your opponent's monsters, you're gonna take your monster.
Who the hell is Snake Eye Birch?
So the monsters don't retain damage. It's bigger number wins. But in the instance of if your monster attacks a bigger monster your opponent has, either an attack or defense, you take that damage to your life points. It doesn't go onto the monster like Pokemon.
Okay. Yeah, so you still have to go through your opponent's monsters.
Underworld got. I actually was expecting Apollosa with that.
Can't attack. You have to go through their monsters anyways, but I would still have to assume it's just control. Be able to attack. So I'm gonna say this card is pretty good. Good enough that it was banned or is banned. How often is there a was banned situation? The card was banned but is now no longer banned.
That happens like
Okay, so 3,
there are
6.
where a card was maybe banned in old Yu-Gi-Oh, and now by modern standards it's not. But I would say that's the most common.
Okay, so good card, banned.
So Swords of funny card. This is actually one of the first cards.
Let's just scoop. I don't want to reveal Mahama.
Watched it. It's okay if you did. It's nothing special, but it's
I watched a little bit when they were doing the whole thing on Twitch where they had like the whole marathon going on.
Yugi actually uses this against Kaiba in the very first episode. And Swords of Revealing Light, gameplay speaking, was quite strong back in the day. It effectively just said draw 3 cards and your opponent can't attack you. There was very few to actually the swords. So the fact that you just got to buy as much time as possible, and not to mention your opponent could also play this, the game would drag on the longest result, and just ended up being an extremely good card. But as the game gained more ways and more tools to be able to deal with Swords of Revealing Light, and
I need to keep skill drain.
At that point, a lot of the time, like, get one big push to kill the opponent. So I don't think swords is a bad
Okay.
card. It's actually
I top decked evenly matched. What the fuck do I do with this?
to people for free, like just basically for making an account. And to this day, there are still clips of people like cruising to swords revealing light against.
If they can kill me on turn 2 on the battle phase, this is not gonna do jack shit.
Something like that. So it's still kind of an annoying card, even though like it's not like a player. I would say the card's bad. It's like this, if that makes sense. But it was never banned, so you got it right there before. But it wasn't banned, so you get a half point for that. I'll take it. Interesting to hear about like the Pokemon perspective on this, though. My one friend suggested this card because he thought this was broken by it.
Path of Duality is gonna reveal a lot of things.
Yeah, there's no for Pokemon. There's no negative effect for doing that ever. So.
Do you have a card that like you play and it stays on the type effect?
Yeah, so there are stadium cards in Pokemon. There's actually a stadium card that's kind of similar. I guess that you could maybe say it's kind of similar to this. It just released in the most recent set, and it says...
I'm probably dead.
Box Pokemon are like the bigger Pokemon with multiple prize cards. Any of your non-rule box Pokemon cannot be damaged by rule box Pokemon.
Interesting. That is similar.
Yeah. So as long as it stays in play, you're like fully all your non-rule box Pokemon are fully protected.
Oh no, Kashtira!
Stadium slot in Pokemon is something you share with your opponent. You only have one stadium card in play. Your opponent on their turn can either play a stadium or effective and require you with the stadium from play.
So if you play your own stadium, does that?
Well, what's Shangri-La gonna do?
So it's very similar, but actually several active where both players can now have a field spell active. And,
Next thing you know, Tearlaments is gonna show up too, and this guy's playing literally every top tier archetype.
So it's interesting that you guys still have the old version of how that used to work. Let's move on. I had a track card to show you. I don't have too many of these, because I know you don't have like too many ways to interact with the opponent on their turn, so I wanted to keep this a bit limited. I like this one for Pokemon.
Rivalry of Warlords. Each player can control one type of monster. Send all other face-up monsters they control to the graveyard. What would be a type?
Type is so in Yu-Gi-Oh! We have types and attributes. So if you look back at the effect veiler, the type is Spellcaster in the text box, and the attribute would be the top right. So type in this case would be you can only, this is effect veiler, you can only have Spellcasters on your side.
So obviously, if you play this card, your deck would be built around it, so it's not going to give a negative effect for you, maybe slightly depending on what other types of deck. So you're trying to utilize this against your opponent. It feels like I said, so what is my question, my thought process going to, what is the average composition of a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck? How often one type of monster, or are your main monsters all the same type?
Sure.
Ones you want to have
Hey, it's Moon.
The way I can answer that, obviously without trying to give you an answer, it really just depends on that and the way that people are picking decks. It could be that maybe the best deck is comprised of multiple types of monster. It could be that it's comprised of several different
Oh, they're just fighting.
Type is either all spellcasters, or maybe it's like a duo of like spellcasters and beasts, hypothetically. Or maybe it's like a tri-focus archetype, where it's like spellcasters, beasts, and it really kind of depends, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is an eternal format. There's so many cards. You can find random cards that synergize with their deck. It might necessarily be something that makes sense. So it's kind of a roundabout cop-out answer. That's like the best way I could really answer for you.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like in terms of Pokemon standards, this would be really good. Because most decks have multiple different. Right?
Gotcha. That's what I was curious about. I wasn't sure if Pokemon was like so cool. Like Gym Leader, Pokemon Game Boy standards. Like, is everyone just like a singular type?
I think this guy's actually trying to play around my Lava Golem, which might explain why we don't see Masquerena.
Like someone putting this in play as like a trap card, or like as a supporter or a stadium card or something.
I couldn't play evenly matched because I was dead if I did. So yeah, this is not a very good trap card to have turn 1.
Sideboard card or matchups. I doubt this card was ever banned. Yeah, so good card. It seems like a good kind of tech card, but it doesn't seem like a card that is banned.
Well, you're right on the money funny with this one. So this card has never been banned. Rival Player Warlords is basically everything that you said. It's a card that I want to say for the most part, people will use to out into play. There are ways that you can hypothetically like send this card from your deck to the graveyard, then like grab it back, so it's like you're searching it in the round to basically stop your opponent from the game. Or, like you said, it's a tech card in specific decks because meta is very predominantly multi-fighting. So if you play Rivalry Warlords, it's a way to really stop that. Or it's a stun tool that stun-based strategies will use to just make it so that the opponent is miserable and can't actually play the game whatsoever. It's a card that it's a very old card, as a matter of fact, but it's actually aged now rather poorly. This is what we like to call Floodgate because it is a continuous trap. You can see that.
There's Masquerena. I have no choice but to lava golem that. If they stayed.
Way the game has sort of progressed, these types of floodgate effects that just prevent the opponent from actually. Most of the time, there are similar ones that do similar things. When these cards are played,
we're probably gonna see Moon close Goddess of the Underworld or something here.
All of a sudden, I can't even like try
with my Mahama.
So, as a matter of fact, this card is limited currently, and a lot of people are actually calling out for this card to be the ban list not too long at the time after the time of recording this video. So maybe it will be banned. Let's see.
Limited. Or when limits happen, is it always to one, or is it like is there sometimes two O's?
Traps back row removal. Fuck.
Limits are the most common. But this card is currently limited. Which makes it even sackier, right? Because if your opponent has the one copy of it, it's like, oh, great, I lost to the one of, whoa, one. Imagine it's like when you got a prize card, your one of card.
Yeah. That's how it is. I got him in Pokemon. That's kind of a good comparison. Because, yeah, like in something like Yu-Gi-Oh, you see so many less cards. Those are people to pull off your strategy or find your tech card. In Pokemon, you can always find your tech card or execute your strategy unless you draw really poorly, unless it's prize. Sure. Which the prize cards are anything get involved.
And you just said you draw a lot of cards in Pokemon. You see a lot of cards. I'm curious what you think about this card, Zach.
All right. Roll and block. Bird. Your opponent adds a card.
They knew this was coming.
During the draw phase, you can send this card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard.
I'm interested what they think.
This turn, you can add cards from their deck to their hand. Card considered. It seems pretty good. It is a monster. So wait, when is this? This has to be in play to prevent that?
No, so you have this card in your hand, and let's say, so you draw for turn.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Let's say say you activate, one of the cards that lets you draw a million cards, right? So you do that, and then in response, since a card was added from your deck to your hand, because drawing is considered that action as well, I would then activate, after the resolution of us both drawing cards or whatever, I would activate the Stroll and Lockbird, and now for the remainder of the turn, neither of us add cards from our deck to our hand, and then
But it said for the rest of this turn, it would just be the rest of your opponent's turn, right?
Correct.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. That's what I assumed.
Yes.
I think that seems pretty good. Because drawing cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Was pretty good, so stopping your opponent from being able to draw cards sounds pretty good. Seems like this has to go into like some kind of more like troll style deck, because this card is also just the same thing as like seeing cards is good. Seeing cards is good for you as well. This card is just like a dead card if your opponent doesn't actually go out of their way to see more cards. Like, you just have like a dead card in your hand. Like, you can't get value out of this card. Is there any way you could just use this card to like summon other monsters in some kind of sequence?
Yeah, in like the worst case scenario,
Is Change of Heart really that big of a hit?
I would say more.
Alright, they're gonna link off
unless you're like in a really
DDD, I'm guessing.
I feel like that would not
or probably Lava Golem.
But it does have
Or hell, she could go for all four.
Well, I'm gonna keep it pretty straightforward here. I'm not gonna overthink this one. For my card.
Little Knight, alright.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say that this card is good and probably good enough to be banned.
What about Pokemon? You ever touch on Pokemon?
Oh, comparing this to Pokemon? I mean, this would be pretty good Pokemon. If your opponent... Yeah. The best Pokemon TCG is Professor's Research. Discard your hand, draw 7 cards. If you could just play this as a response to your opponent playing a research, you're broken. So you would probably play... And every deck basically plays heavy draw supporters. For the most part, some of them are a little bit like search your deck for a specific card. Yeah, I would say this would be like a maxed out count in Pokemon probably if it's an item card, and this would like kind of This would be basically an item card in Pokemon. So this would be Pokemon. Thinking about how Yu-Gi-Oh works as well, like I mentioned, yeah, I would say good card.
You think this is bannable in Pokemon? Okay.
It was an item card, so that's like the thing. This would have to be an item. Yeah, and to play during your opponent's turn would also have to be an item card, just sure to make sense. Like you said, you could make a supporter card that said you can play this during your opponent's turn, and then you can't play a supporter during your next turn. I guess kind of a good idea. I wonder if
They had a full team and
you can play this
Pokemon.
you have to play during your opponent's turn and then not be able to play a supporter card during your next turn would actually be a pretty cool interaction. But yeah, this would be broken in Pokemon for sure.
alright, they walled up with that. That's honestly a good idea, pretty good.
About like search power, like to be able to go into the deck to get like specific cards. Is there a lot of that, or is it more just like draw?
There's a lot of that. It's like there's like the go-to search card in Pokemon for a long time. Ultra Ball, discard 2 cards for search your deck for any more Pokemon, stuff like that.
That's also a lot of the context I think you also need for Draw Lockward, because in Yu-Gi-Oh, you're right on the money almost. So in Yu-Gi-Oh, draw power, like you said, is very important. However, compared to Pokemon, even though draw power in Yu-Gi-Oh is extremely good, we don't have a ton of cards that just draw us cards. I would say Yu-Gi-Oh predominantly, by far and away, have more cards to play with is by searching them for other cards. It would be like this card gets you this card, this card gets you that card, and so on. So
Fair enough.
In Yu-Gi-Oh terms, we have Ultra Balls for everything, essentially. And that could be good or bad depending on like what you want to get out of a card game. But a lot of people like it because it really adds to the consistency of the game. And instead of just hoping you draw those cards, you can actually just directly search them and interact with them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure M did.
Typical card is extremely good. But like you said, you actually pointed it out. It is specific to.
Yeah, I'm dying to my own lava golem.
And if those decks are playing
Fair enough.
Draw/search power, that this card is going to get enough mileage in order for it to be worth it. Because card advantage wise, it is inherently a -1. So you're losing a card to prevent your opponent from doing any more actions that would draw a search for the rest of the turn. However, if you're not able to really follow up after the draw lock or to establish your own position, or just straight up win the game as a result of it, or the decks don't lose hard enough to draw a Lockbird. So this card will weave its way in and out of formats. People kind of look at this as like, oh shit button, or like if the format's really bad.
Let's go second.
As Asterisk, Droll Lockbird doesn't really see much play, because there's enough healthy interaction that you don't need to have this like this catch-all for stopping draw power and search power. So as a result, very good card, but actually not banned. Had 3 copies.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense for sure.
I do like to hear that this would be bannable in Pokemon. Very funny. Alright, speaking of.
Alright.
Excuse me.
This card before.
This is a go card. This is a go card.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That's artwork. I've definitely seen this before.
It's very iconic looking. Yeah.
Both players select one monster from their respective sides of the field and switch control of those monsters with each other. Selected monsters cannot change their battle positions this turn.
So from my understanding, in Pokemon, you have your active Pokemon and then you have like a bench of other Pokemon, correct? Let's say for the purposes of evaluating this by Pokemon standards, you can interact with either their active.
So we basically have cards like that. We have boss's orders, or we call them gust effects, where you can bring the bench to the active spot. Because you can only, generally, most attacks only hit your opponent's active Pokemon. With gust effects, bring up the bench to the active spot, and they swap them out. That's the Pokemon you can have access to.
Okay.
They give me a card?
Their bench Pokemon.
No.
Okay.
Not that one.
Not yet. Not yet.
That's true, yeah, not yet. That'd be cool, though. This one's interesting.
What is this? I've never seen these.
Okay, what you're giving to your opponent?
Correct. So you pick yours, and your opponent picks theirs. So you don't get to pick what they give.
And so obviously, if you're playing this, you gotta play some bad monsters that you're gonna give to your opponent. Right? You exhaust the effect of it, and it has low stats, you give it to your opponent. Kind of just take advantage. You're gonna give it to you. So it seems, that's like the thing that I would have a missing piece of it.
Dang
Like
it, I can't read it.
What does average Yu-Gi-Oh board look like in terms of the competition? It's fairly some stragglers, like some monsters that were in play, their effects, or you use them to get some other stuff in play. And if that is a constant bad, or maybe very
Link Spider into Link Spider, amazing.
might just depend
Tokens
on
are technically normal monsters. That's good to know. Link Spider's really good for link climbing. Wow, he has a whole full playset.
Is considered playable by Go format standards.
Yeah.
That helps you out at all.
Wait, what? A ritual monster? Hey yo!
We might have some
Hey yo! There's a Cyberse ritual?
valuable enough. Hey, the reverse could also. So it really is dependent on any given game.
Okay, so the Ogdo Addict was purely engine.
Attack against this because like we even like last card we talked about.
That said, what are they fucking cooking?
Man, but it's the card is not the card, right? If your opponent doesn't interact with their deck, you have like a dead card in your hand, right? So feature swap would be like how far can you run away out of your way to build your deck to have just kind of not terrible monsters, but monsters you wouldn't mind giving to your opponent. If creature swap is in the if creature swap is a card, like we need to go out of our way to include like 6 basically low value monsters to play around creature swap, and that seems like almost too much at the point. But I'm going to say okay card, but I'm leaning more towards it being like a tech card where it's like when there's only good creatures or only good monsters, that's when all of a sudden swap becomes like a playable card.
What about my Pokemon standards? You didn't go too detailed on Pokemon.
Oh yeah.
So many cards!
If it was as simple as you pick one
Diviner's even here.
their bench Pokemon, and then you switch them. I don't think if there's any like really cool interactions where you can give your opponent something. It would be pretty good because you could give your opponent liabilities, basically. Certain Pokemon are cards and have lower HP because they're like support Pokemon or utility Pokemon. Like the one, the current format Squawkabilly has 160 HP. The 2 prize Pokemon, which is pretty low HP for a prize Pokemon. But on the first turn of the game, you can discard your hand and draw 6 cards. You can only use it on the first turn of the game. So besides that, it's just a dead card for the rest of the game, basically. So if you could like give your opponent your Squawkabilly, that'd be pretty good, and then you just KO it off their bench. By Pokemon standards, this card would be pretty good.
So your overall assessment saying it's like okay card, not bad.
Yeah, so
And you are right on the money with this. So Creature Swap's a really cool card. Like you said, it does have its shortcomings. If your opponent doesn't have anything for you to take with it, the card is obviously pretty bad. And you're typically going to
What is going on?
cards that your opponent that you're going to receive some value out of. In order you give standards, we call these battle card is that when they are killed in battle, they would special summon a monster of
My magic cylinders.
some restriction. They need like a light monster with 1500. So what you would do is you would have a monster, one of those battle recruits on your field.
Kinda weird, I had 2 of them at the top of my deck.
You would creature swap the monsters, and
Yo, Condemned Dark Lord!
that they now have possession of. That triggers in your graveyard, so now you get to special summon a monster, and now if your opponent's cleared, you get to hit them directly in the face. So you get a huge swing with their best monster. Your monster replaces itself with one monster.
Bro!
One of this card, and
This guy's going through their entire fucking extra deck.
like you said, if your opponent doesn't have any monsters, this card is anything. This card's kind of interesting because, like a lot of cards now, they target. This card doesn't target. It actually requires both players to choose a monster, and as a result of that, there are cards that have like targeting protection, so it can actually, in weird ways, like circumvent some protection effects. Like,
Time Lord!
like in effect targeting it, which is like a weird like semantic thing. And it's just like it's kind of a neat design, but it was never really like fantastic. It was never like the tier 1. Some decks found cute ways to take advantage of it. By modern standards, this card is unplayable, but it was a cool old card. I thought by Pokemon standards, especially you guys have there could become some cool stuff that you could do. So it was cool to hear your insight on it.
yeah, so wait, so you could give your opponent a card that has a recruit effect, and the recruit effect would trigger for you if that card got hit.
Correct, because the effect triggers when the monster goes to the graveyard.
I thought it was the end of your turn, my dude.
Your monster, it comes back to your graveyard, so that effect. There was also a card in Goat format, Scapegoat, the namesake of the format, that if your opponent would activate a creature swap, you could chain Scapegoat, so you have these 4 little goats on the field, and you skip creature swaps. So, that never felt good. It's one of the reasons why this card. Talking about Alright. You like drawing cards. Let's see.
Treasure. Card by discarding 5 cards. Well, cards instead of 1. Ball.
Well, you do start with 5, draw 6 at the beginning. I will say it's not unlikely in modern video that you can cards here or maintain a high amount.
My turn!
Starting 5 cards. Card. Instead of. Oh, yeah. Okay, that's.
Wait, what? Am I just not allowed to have my turn?
But having a double draw return broken.
That's how the biggest thing I'm like in comparison with thing how is this? Okay, so stadium cards out there. Stadium cards actively. It does for so the stadium card.
Let's say this is a one-sided stadium. I don't know how about that.
That would be okay. That wouldn't be terrible. It's just if you're playing like a slow control deck. Plus turns from like plus 1, 10 turns. Fun. It's in those kind of decks. Master decks too slow. Some of the mid-range decks have overall want to be okay, especially with the additional discarding prior. That is no, it is up.
But it would be actually playable.
Yeah, it would. Sure. Throughout its lifetime.
I can basically just see the entire deck here. Bro's playing his entire deck.
Short, right? It's like they look for
Yeah, no, I'm fucking screwed. If I at least top deck Mahama, I would have been able to.
so you this year starting in, they immediately discard another 5. After you discard 5, we'll get less than 5.
It's an activation requirement. So it happens.
Okay then, how the fuck do I deal with that?
After you get 6, assuming this is still in play, assuming there's place to assuming at 6, you may have plus 1 over 2 turns, but your options for your immediate turn.
I have no idea what I can do.
So, any that never came as 3 or 4 turns, they would be like, they're like.
Alright, I'm definitely going first this time.
How start to the graveyard, search deck. That would combo pretty well with this. So overall, this feels like a requirement. I'm just going to go ahead and say that this card is probably just out there. It's a lifetime that
May not know when it comes to water. Hard, now with one monster. Several multiple cards on. And then those cards have been standing. So, like I said, with like 2 billion water cards, he may not see volume card. Our monsters tend to survive that. Hard ticket. One monster.
Yeah, fuck it, let's just go for gift card.
It's like 3, 4, 5 cards. Guarded treasure, allowing you to draw 2 cards equal to the deck of turn. One card. So much of the game. Yeah.
I was following your thought process there. Like, if you don't have the broken card, there are odds of getting the broken card. Either have right, play guarded treasure.
Oh, yo, I just realized their deck size is 50.
Yeah, sure. Let's go. Maybe back in the future, we'll cover. Right, guarded treasure, too costly. Also, go to this like
I can potentially cheese out a victory with Mahama.
Like, it's now crazy cost. But realize, like you said, like, this was a card for Canada.
The biggest problem with this deck is that I need to have a life lead. If the enemy gets a life lead, there is a fat chance I'm winning. There's a fat chance I'm not winning. A very fat chance.
Or cannot be summoned. Almost summoned. Discarded.
This deck literally uses every summoning mechanic. Rituals, links,
Cannot be special summoned.
synchro, XCs, and fusion.
Special summoned.
Each turn, players allotted one normal summon. Base attack setting. To summon, special summon. Summon it, which counts as a summoning fire's discard out. Have to sacrifice two monsters on the summon. Special summon is anything that is not a summon, you can special summon as many times. Most of say return such, you're allowed to special summon 50 times. That's obviously
Pile decks are always fun to see, I suppose.
right. Assuming that monster is an attack. So that's it.
Start to their hand. Off base. Start their hand. Right. So it's like, how costly is it? Like Pokemon standards, I know. It's like something.
Yeah, World Chalice is crazy good support.
We do have those. There is those. That is possible. Not that. Thing is, there's a one. It means they're not very powerful cards. The key card coming out in the next set says minimal in this turn. Back. All for this turn.
Why is it always my magic cylinder?
Cards. Any different ways to get your opponent down to the and what doesn't have any attack down. And lock your opponent to 0 cards, and 1 more draw support. With abilities, just have attackers set up. So,
It's discarding. It's like out or something.
not that. So,
But if it's the whole hand,
the whole hand is, I mean, 2800, 2900 stats. Right? Like, yeah,
I mean, that's light point, so that's almost, you're over.
stats. Yeah, my biggest question is like, how easy is it to negate one monster? Your opponent said, how? It doesn't seem that difficult. Instead of discarding your opponent's whole hand, because I would say discard it.
Okay, 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 okay.
No, a little bit about it. I wouldn't say this was like the best thing you could do that, right? But it's like, it's a deck. You can see it because it's scope that is like so.
It's fucking turn 2.
You could one shot your 10 with.
Still.
But this card is fucking terrible. This card is really, really, really bad. I thought this would be a good one.
What happened to Arcana Force? I thought they were a stupid ass coin flip archetype that was way too RNG focused to really be viable.
Hoping your opponent.
Because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is kind of all about hyper consistency.
So there are a myriad of cards happening.
Oh, come on.
And every like most of the time, it's probably not going to have a fit anyway. Like they do. So like you go, you can't. Is that really worth it? Like maybe it's not like you're going to hit 5 or 6
Alright, I'm not getting Little Knighted.
everything. And playing this card, if you're going to go ever like I'd say there's plenty of trick monsters that didn't have the restriction that special summon. So and it had much more powerful. So one called Dark Vision of Chaos that on special summon just adds a spell card. Like, oh cool, I get a 2800 attack.
If this works,
That seems a lot better than me.
it works.
So very funny card, very
Bruh.
to work, and this is like a playground card for sure. definitely like it's small. This card's
I need to top deck that again.
So mostly to set up potential fail. As long as your opponent knows.
yeah, and so many like generic options. It's hard, like just wondering what.
Shit.
Totally happy.
A foolish burial for consistency. I know what's getting put in there, yeah.
Pause. Actually, you can fact you can't special something item. It really like cheat out. I think that just makes it. You also have to reverse it in this guy too. That instead of making your opponent discard their whole hand, you actually draw. I don't know. You would think drawing 5 all the same cards. Yeah. Getting there's these two. One it is. On the card name, cards with that name and their effects.
Seriously, the card advantage is crazy with this deck.
Provide one thing. So there's like a one-sided state. Know what you're playing against. That monsters like they wouldn't be able to. Actually, the prohibitions up here. I'd like but basically.
It's a good thing I'm recording this. Holy shit, this is awesome. I am witnessing why I love Yu-Gi-Oh!
You could just lock out 9 cards here, but it's like 9 was. It would just be like,
And yes, you heard me right. Watching my opponent do their combos for 10 minutes straight.
So, this card's even broken. It'll be broken in both times. It's even broken.
Does this count as an FTK? You skip your opponent's turn and then you battle. Does that count?
It have to be like a one-sided stadium. Well, stadium part of the deck. Sure. But then it could be one of those things where like stadium cards would be like max out your count. You say how to card max all abilities in the whole.
Oh, you know, I should have paid attention to the... There are actually light and dark monsters here. If I brought Bestial, that could have done something, but realistically speaking, it definitely wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, like say like anything besides
yeah. Then it would be interesting for stage 1. It's on stage 1 or 2. Okay. Setting Pokemon up. How powerful. This is on stage 1 and you said like your opponent can't win all. Gameplay, I can think will be like playing. Right now, so I'd be thinking you're playing with impressive deck. Stage 1. Stage maybe not broken. Really good. Really, really good. I'm going to say this card is broken. Probably bad.
Prohibition is interesting. I think you are. It's funny because on paper, this card seems like it's broken. In practice, it doesn't seem to play out. I'm not sure it's about prohibition. It's always times, even in modern, trying to sell. Oh, if I just, either their best off, maybe their best answer.
This is how you're supposed to use Dark Lord, baby.
As far as broken, even this is an older Yu-Gi-Oh! They also have excellent. Never comes to fruition, and it's just falling by the wayside. This card always looks to, damn, this card seems like good. And then it try and they're like, this is stop, and it just never came. So, funny to think of. This card is, I don't want to say it's bad, I want to say it's like a probably card that's deep.
Oh boy, here it comes.
There are some better things. Instead of playing a card that's stupid stuff, we have just cards.
Yeah, holy fucking shit.
So any type of card active. Why would you proactive things that are actually insurance giving? I think that's just kind of. So even just do the option. They still have to be option. Powerful. Correct. You would, like what? Compared to something like prohibition, you'd rather have and it's going to stop making it no, especially when you have a site. It's called designed and against like X deck. And that's a just much better out of instead of like this card they might have and hoping that if you left, like more turbo. Like, in a context, this is I said like you know, yeah. So I think there's a you don't have like
Potentially, if I had Ash Blossom, I could have prevented all of this craziness from happening, but who am I kidding? This guy can do all of this with one card. It's a one card combo. Please, draw tails. 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 Oh my goodness. Why?
Situational, although it's like you never want to play. It seems like a comeback card. Bad. Drawing it at the right time seems tough. Like, I guess spell search exists.
A gift card? No!
So hard. If I show you.
No!
How much time that? Well, there's 8,000 life points. So this would just. I guess, like, it seemed like kind of combo deck. You just kind of.
It straight up just skips my turn. What the hell?
Okay, so I don't think it seems like maybe there's like a deck or two out there, like as like a combo deck, like that's how you make through discard, control the board as much as possible, and game comes down. Talk about Mega Board Booster. In the OCG, etc.
Bro, this guy just keeps recycling two monsters and then tributing them back to the... It is crazy. Holy shit. This is amazing.
In the very early days, like you said, there was a combo deck. Play another monster that was summoned by writing how to cheat it out and summon it. And because you had to pay life points to activate that effect, then had lower life points in your
What kind of madman constructs a deck like this?
And this combo was so good by old Yu-Gi-Oh standards that they banned parts of the combo 5 days after some of these cards. Megamorph was obviously one of that combo, but it was never banned. I think the only but it kind of sucks because people want Megamorph, like you said,
They played around Mahama.
old Yu-Gi-Oh standards. It was fine. I don't think you wanted to pay to play this card. I think it's kind of like what you said. You have like some sort of like application for it. One thing you can pick up on is you actually shoot this monster, and if you have the higher your opponent's monster has your
Lol. Yeah, I forgot condemned heals.
but it was never like I don't want to say it was like if it's not Just make a 9,000 attack dragon in something.
How lucky can you get?
By modern standards, it's just Yu-Gi-Oh is so hardly combat centric now, and I think that's what it's
Oh right, light barrier. The light barrier doesn't makes it so you don't have to bother with the coin toss. Holy shit!
That's why that's this point. Precise. And everything. Getting to our last.
Bro, if people knew about this, if more people knew about this, our meta would be Konami would probably fucking hit this fucking shit so hard because they want to promote whatever fucking deck they want.
Set this face down. And either if your opponent attacks it's up either it or survives say sets a card. So they don't attack. On your turn, you gain this card.
Can this make Final Countdown viable?
I think it's depending on how plays like on a find and when all of a sudden you're all behind the price trade.
I think my Pokemon Center would set.
Because like it skips turns, but it's genuinely a potential way you can use Final Countdown. I mean, the biggest problem with that is still the fact that
maybe you want to be. It's such a weird card.
It's like your own shit button where it's like, oh, I'm behind and you back it.
Yeah, exactly. That's like where the game disruption. Slower. Now, this would also that if you're playing a slower deck,
Final Countdown is still non-searchable.
As an aggressive deck, which is, I guess,
But like the world, hell yeah!
It's like okay,
it literally skips turns. That definitely has to be a JoJo reference, right? It's like you're stopping time to do stuff. Arcana Force! Zawarud! I want to play one more game.
Set up, and then they go back and draw the first one prize card, and then immediately reset, and then draw the first one prize cards again. Instead of having two prize, they've been given them. Aggressive decks, the seat broken. Yu-Gi-Oh! I'm not sure. The life is staying the same. The only thing that would make this card better. I'm trying to think and how this would even work. Like if you're ahead, if you're beating your opponent down, you run out of resources. You fiber jar to regain resources. If you're behind, your opponent's board is just so much better than yours. You fiber jar, reset the game to hopefully draw into. Wait, which would be like how easy is it to negate this effect is like my big hang up for sure.
So I will say, flip effects when monsters are battling them, they activate in a window that is very difficult to interact with if they can interact with it at all. That's just the way mechanically it works. However, if you were to flip this card manually yourself on your turn, it would be a lot easier to.
How scared are we of face-down monsters on our opponent's side? Or do we usually just ignore them and swing them?
So, I
ignore them, right?
It depends, because there are cards that can just straight up set monsters.
They're super slow. Are they having internet issues?
No. However, if you don't have a way
It's Runic again. What the fuck?
Set cards is that one.
One reason I can see this card being hit would just be that it made me think.
This is just the dueling Nexus meta.
This card being it's like utilize it. Overall, it just seems like a really cheesy call. Probably doesn't amount to much once you get into head, and if you run out of gas, set, your partnership ignores it. It seems like a cheesy card because it could almost be like your opponent had to play it, hoping your opponent so that they attack into it. And or cheesy and
I have no idea what magical musket cards are.
Sorry. It was banned relatively around it's on it and it's been there so it is banned. But you hit the nail right on the head. It's banned because it's just fucking annoying. It's so annoying that every time the fight flips, you have to go through this dance of, alright, I'm gonna pick up all my cards, I'm gonna shuffle, and I'm gonna draw 5 again. The fiber jar also shuffles itself back into the deck as well, so that you keep just doing it again if they want to. It's not like the fiber jar itself back. So it never ends. So it was limited ban list and it's actually a ban list. You're also able to tutor this card during the game, like search cards around this time. If you remember, like saying it, search this. So if you're in a pinch, you can get 2 copies of Fiber Jar. But if not, you just need one copy in it.
Damn, alright.
But just incredibly. It's just like, alright, anytime I see a set monster, after I see Fiber Jar, it can just be Fiber Jar again, or be my old tip. I actually think this card was, like, unbanned. I don't think this card was, I don't think it's very good.
Negate it, negate it, negate it, negate it, negate it.
There are still, like, decks, but, like, the whole deck is designed to add it. And Fiber Jar is just, I don't know. I don't think you can really cut it by modern standards. I think you can actually probably. But that might be a problem.
it's not like very overly
I don't think it's powerful. Like, for all the reasons you mentioned, being able to reset the in your head.
Damn.
Sources of course have a game. Aggro, control, like, set just keep so like the chance. I think it's still a hard it was just so fast that just like setting up Fiber Jar is not. It's you're gonna die at times. So that I mean like that's just kind of weird. But it's I think just because of the way that it's like starting, I think that was that's part of
Magical musket fucking.
Alrighty, last card.
Alright, it is only once per turn at least. Alright.
know about this card.
Oh, okay.
So they'll do it if you want, once you have a backup.
I can come up with something here too.
Enable choice, select 5 cards in your deck. Show them to your opponent. Your opponent.
Okay, Talismandra's gone too. What the fuck?
In Pokemon Standards, it's like 9 parts. 9 parts. Is this the card that I think? This card seems super familiar. I'm pretty sure I know this card. I'm like sick by now. I'm sick by myself. The big thing with this one is you're always discard my other opponent. Never be able to in your graveyard, in your graveyard, right? Like, so you take all to one of them. Instantly, whenever you put your graveyard. Also, you plus 1 card to your hand. So,
The one goal. I would see.
Oh, okay, that's not 100% true. So we used to have a card. In Pokemon, we used to have a card. So, if it was an item card, I guess it would. Some deck. Okay, everything. You have a card called Battle Compressor, which is an item card. You search your deck. As rotated at a standard, expanded format came around, a lot of decks started playing from them, and there were some like there's a lot of ways to interact with cards. Oh, yes, Seeker, which is an item card that got some order out of your it's time and standard. That was fine. Something like this in Pokemon, I think the card's a lot. To be able to discard any more cards you want. That would maybe be much, maybe some decks would be too much. Honestly, this card in Pokemon would honestly maybe be fine if I think about it. I would actually probably be decent in some decks. Decent in some decks, but not like I remember correctly about Painful Choice.
You did remember. I was hoping you didn't see this card. It's always fun for people who've never seen this card before. But this is. I don't think I'm going to do that. And I think as the game has progressed, it's gotten better. So this card is never going to. It's like you said, you're basically not giving a choice at all. Either you're having enough redundant X on the main choice that they're going to get out of it, or cards that are going to get sent are all going to have some value. So it's like, even though it's only a 1-for-1 on economy,
I don't know. I'm gonna try attacking.
Anyway, so it can become
I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure I only have one unformed, so I can't summon full anymore.
time for that card. So it's a very fitting card. It's after.
I'm gonna try the battle phase.
Very, very. I do have another battle. This is maybe one. It's actually like very Pokemon inspired. And I'm going to apologize.
Alright. Magical Musketeer needs to go.
Start by seeing the artwork. I don't know. It was like maybe.
Well, you see one of the guys on the artwork already.
That should be it. Actually, what I'm. That's what I'm. Right.
Yeah, below this is a lot of text.
This turn, this card can be activated during your opponent's turn when your life is small.
In this case, you have one price card.
If you have 0.
You need to have. You can't have 0. You have to still have some. Otherwise, you get a 0.
I'm sorry, you're trying to field set all other cards. First is expected. After that, your opponent selects the special summon one monster. Her piece of attack position and attacks your select one. Battle damage is treated as 0. The player whose monster remains alone this turn wins the duel. Other case results. All. Left life point, but less like you pick one of your monsters. All other cards on the field. Graveyards. Your opponent summons one monster from their deck. Base attack position.
I can't get Bethor out.
Ever monster wins that version. So that's a lot. Feels like if you.
It's cool though, right?
Yeah, it's cool. I feel like if you know your opponent. Let's tackle this Pokemon terms.
Their battle phase is skipped. Not that they can attack over full with this.
I'm sorry.
But like, you never know. They might be able to do something crazy with that card in their hand.
Why is it?
The guys that would really work in Pokemon as is because to set up you need to attach an energy to it. And if your opponent is just taking a Pokemon out of their deck, you wouldn't have anything to attack with. Because if you just said it's any Pokemon, even an evolution Pokemon, puts it in their active spot, you can do any attack on that Pokemon. And
Sure, let's go with that.
Yeah.
Let's go with that.
That would make it really easy to attack against this card. Because you both be playing, your opponent would just play like some stupid Pokemon that's terrible otherwise. Maybe has a really powerful attack that's impossible to set up, and they would just beat you. So you make your
I don't only have 13 cards.
Okay.
I think this.
Oh right, I used Elder Entity.
One prize card.
Yeah, your
I'm
opponent.
not sure if you're building around that or if that plays into your calculus.
There would also have to be part of it as well. Yeah, one prize card left you probably get one prize card. This card I would actually think about more. This card would be terrible. Just draw your one prize card by knocking out one. So you don't have to go full round and out. Card is like super specific. If your opponent knows you have this, I would imagine they can pretty easily play around it. They could just not put you at 1,000 life. I guess the question would be, can you put yourself at 1,000 life? Like, could you utilize... So trap cards have to be set.
Okay, it took them this long to think about activating Runic.
Pass play back to your opponent.
On your... Let's say you set this to turn 1. On your second, you play enough cards that would put you down to 1,000 life to your opponent, and then immediately your opponent draws for turn. What is it on an opponent's turn to start? They draw. And you can,
I'm out of hand traps I'm out of hand traps. No more Ash Blossom.
you can have you can
Oh,
trap
great.
cards, you can, right? Which means they have a counter to your trap card. Pretty obvious what you're as well with this card. If that was exactly what you did, was like,
If those are quick plays, they either way they can't activate them anymore since they place them face down.
So I'm gonna go ahead and say this.
I need to recycle Phaleg
Other cards around there's enough
on their turn.
This card.
Otherwise, I won't be able to accumulate any advantage next turn.
I'm going to say this card is bad. It's too specific.
And I will undoubtedly die.
Let's talk about last turn. I think this is a good way to end this last turn. So, last turn, similar to Fiber Jar, it's just like one of the just for I think for like any card.
Fair enough. Alright.
So I always love showing this card. So I'm actually glad you did.
I can't use Pensiplume anymore anyway.
So you actually hit the nail right on the head. What you're trying to do is to play a deck design this card. A lot of ways. So you mentioned getting your life points down to 1,000. Activate. Well, you don't even have to be hypothetically until your second turn. But do it on the first turn.
Wow, we're finally playing a game that isn't one-sided.
Activate by paying any multiple of 1,000 life points.
And of course, it's against Runic.
Less.
So, hypothetically, on turn 1, set both of these cards face down, and then during your opponent's turn, as soon as they drop, activate while revealing life, a 7,000 life. Do you care about the effect of this card? You're just using this to pay 7,000.
So I can't use Bethor to do anything.
But now you're probably wondering, okay, how am I going to win the game with this card? Well, there's a little called Jowgin the Spiritual Switch.
Start with one random card and graveyard.
Oh, what have they got for turn 4?
So, the way this works is that because Jowgin Spiritual is for yellow, and you set your travel, opponent's turn comes, you activate the wall, pay 7,000, activate last turn.
Bro, you're gonna time out.
Else in the field, on the field graveyard, aside from your Jowgin. But because Jowgin has a continuous effect of neither player can special summon monsters, your opponent is not allowed to special summon a monster out of their deck. And yeah, that's the last turn combo. And there was other like just dumb gimmick. The biggest thing about this card is that there's so much text on it, and it never actually plays out the way anyone thinks it does. It's actually a 16-page document on the that talks about all the interactions surrounding last turn. And this is just a card that's such a colossal headache that Konami's like, we're just going to ban this because we never wanted to use this card again. And last turn. It is very goofy card. It is very in nature. And it's banned. It is banned for 20 years, and it's probably never going to be.
Maybe I should side deck Lightning Storm as well. Okay then.
They were not even in the kitchen. That's how far they were. They were gone. So what do you think about Yu-Gi-Oh?
I mean, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely a game. I always say this about Yu-Gi-Oh and even Magic, or even some of like the games. I almost I just the biggest thing for me is always spend time. It's definitely a game I want to take some time into, and actually it's got the online client, so it's accessible, right? But time is always just kind of the biggest thing. These things didn't happen much easier to keep up to date with, especially up till this upcoming season a full-time competitor. So I mean, this is like the year where I guess we kind of think more in terms of Pokemon seasons, which ended in August and started like a month after that. So maybe this season will actually play. It's definitely an interesting game. And I've seen from it, played with it, intrigues me. Yeah, something I want to. Sure.
What's your favorite card then?
Yeah, I mean, probably the Fiber Jar. It's just a weird card. I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was that good, and I thought it was like super cheesy. Apparently, just good enough to like play, and then too annoying and good enough to win as well. So yeah, probably the Fiber Jar. Just such a.
It is a weird. A lot of the cards they showed were specific. I imagine a lot of cards.
Well, Pokemon cards are just super simple. There's like not as much more. Oh, actually, it's not true. Like old Pokemon cards, like base set is like super simple. Got a lot more weird interaction, right? 6.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the channel. I'm sure everyone enjoyed seeing a Pokemon master such as yourself evaluating some of those finest cards. I'll have all your down in the description. Thanks so much for joining me.
Shit, thanks for having me on.
Or another video.